Right now, I'm going to talk about the most distinctive aspect of Christian ethics that sets them apart from every other moral code. No one is immune to one vice. Everyone hates it when they witness it in another person. And almost no one, with the exception of Christians, ever considers that they may be guilty of this vice themselves. It has come to my attention that some individuals confess to being short-tempered, lacking self-control when it comes to gossip or alcohol, or even being cowards. Almost no non-Christian I've ever known has ever shown any pity for people who are guilty of this fault, and I doubt I've ever heard a non-Christian accuse themselves of it. There is no flaw that causes a man to be unpopular or that we are less self-aware of than any other. We tend to despise it in other people when we have it ourselves. Pride or self-conceit is the vice I'm referring to, and humility is the virtue that stands in opposition to it in Christian ethics. Please consider subscribing to our channel so you can continue to walk with us in faith. Before we continue, the core of Christian morality is not located in sexual morality, as I cautioned you while we were discussing it. We have arrived at the center presently. Christian educators hold that pride is the highest kind of evil and the primary vice. Everything else pales in contrast to impurity, wrath, gluttony, and inebriation. The devil became the devil because of his pride. Being proud is the antithesis of having a godly attitude, and it is the root cause of all other vices. Are you of the opinion that this is overstated? If that's the case, give it some serious scrutiny. Just now I brought up the fact that pride makes people despise pride in others even more. Actually, the simplest approach to gauge your level of pride is to consider how much you despise it when other people ignore you, snub you, belittle you, or flaunt their superiority. The main idea is that pride is a competitive emotion that affects everyone. My irritation at someone else being the party's center of attention stems from my desire to have that role reversed. Traitors can never come to an agreement. An important thing to remember is that pride is fundamentally a competitive emotion. It has an inherent competitiveness, unlike the other vices, which are competitive more of a byproduct. Pride isn't happy with possessing anything in and of itself. It's happy with having more of it than other people. People aren't proud of their wealth, intelligence, or excellent looks, despite what we say, because they are richer, smarter, or more attractive than everyone else. They take great pride in it. There would be no reason to feel proud if everyone else became as wealthy, intelligent, or attractive as we are. You derive your pride from being compared to others from the joy of being superior. Pride disappears when there is no longer any aspect of competitiveness. That is why, unlike the other vices, pride is fundamentally a competitive trait. Although it is possible for two guys to get into an argument over a lady due to their sexual desires, this is usually an unintentional outcome. It is also possible that they had separate desires. If a man is really proud of himself, he would steal your girlfriend away from you, not because he loves her, but to show the world that he is superior. When resources are scarce, greed may push people to compete for what little remains. However, a proud man may seek out more, even when he has more than he needs to feel powerful. Pride is virtually entirely to blame for all the world's ills, not greed or selfishness. Take money as an example. A man's greed will lead him to desire more and more money in order to improve his living conditions. His house, his vacations, his food, and his drink. but only up to a certain degree. Why would a guy who already makes $10,000 a year be so eager to earn $20,000? This is not driven by an insatiable need for hedonism. A man can truly indulge in all life has to offer with $10,000. The desire to amass more wealth than another wealthy man is a manifestation of pride, and the desire for power is even more pronounced since pride truly relishes power. The ability to manipulate people like toy soldiers is the surest way for a man to feel superior to everyone else. Why is it that attractive girls seem to bring nothing but pain to everyone they meet? Definitely not her libido. Girls of that type tend to be sexually inactive. The feeling is one of pride. Why do political leaders and entire nations seem to be insatiably demanding? Regained pride. Pride persists because it is inherently competitive. If I am an egotistical man, then my adversary and competition will be any man on this planet who is stronger, wealthier, or smarter than me. The Christians are correct. Pride has been the root of all evil from the beginning of time for every family and nation. Pride usually brings animosity, but other vices can bring people together. Among the inebriated or the unchaste, you can find nice company, laughter, and friendliness. This is hostility, and not just against one another, but against God as well. When you confront God, you face an entity that is far more powerful than you are. To truly know God, you must first realize yourself as nothing compared to that. Only then can you truly know God. Being proud prevents you from knowing God. You can't see what's above you when you're looking down, and a proud man is always gazing down on everything and everyone. Here we have a horrible conundrum. How can ostentatious, proud people claim to believe in God and act so religiously? To me, it sounds like they're praising a God who doesn't exist. Although they claim to be nothing in God's eyes, they secretly fantasize about how much superior they are than the rest of society, and how much He approves of them. For an imaginary penny they give Him, and in return they receive a pound of pride in their fellow humans. When Christ declared that some would preach about Him and cast out demons in His name, only to be told at the end of the world that He had never met them, I believe He was thinking about those people. This death trap could ensnare any one of us at any given time. Thankfully, there is a litmus test. If our religious life is influencing us to feel good about ourselves and, more importantly, superior to others, then we can be confident that the devil and not God is at work. You will know you are in God's presence when you either completely disregard yourself or treat yourself like a filthy, insignificant thing. Ignoring your own needs is the best course of action. A horrible thing has happened when the worst vice manages to sneak into the core of our religious life. Now you understand that the devil uses our baser instincts to feed us other, less sinful vices. But this one comes straight from hell. The fact that it is entirely spiritual makes it all the more cunning and lethal. Similarly, pride can frequently be harnessed to subdue less complex vices. Actually, in order to get a male to act appropriately, teachers often try to appeal to his pride or self-respect, as they call it. Learning to consider these vices beneath his dignity, that is, pride, has helped many men overcome their cowardice, lust, or bad temper. While he establishes the dictatorship of pride in you, the devil is pleased to watch you become virtuous, courageous, and self-controlled, and he chuckles at this. Just as he would gladly cure your chills in exchange for the chance to inflict spiritual cancer on you, pride, if given the chance. Any hope of love, happiness, or even common sense is sucked dry by it. I need to avoid any miscommunication before I move on from this topic. Receiving compliments does not make one feel proud. Here, the joy does not reside in your actual self-description, but in the fact that you have satisfied someone you desired and justifiably sought to please. Thus, the child whose teacher compliments their good behavior, the woman whose lover lauds her beauty, and the saved soul to whom Christ says, "Well done," are all rightfully pleased and should be. As soon as you think, "I have pleased him," all is well. The problem starts when you start to think, "What a fine person I must be to have done it." If you're enjoying yourself too much and not enough when others compliment you, you're heading in the wrong direction. You have hit rock bottom when you are completely absorbed in enjoying yourself and could care less about the compliments. This is why, although appearing to be the most destructive kind of pride, vanity is actually the most reprehensible and forgivable. Someone who is overly self-centered is always seeking validation from others and is overly eager to get compliments. Although it is a defect, it is a youthful and, strangely enough, modest one. You care about other people's opinions of you enough to want others to notice you, which means you're not quite satisfied with your own adoration. Truthfully, you're still just a human. If you despise other people to the point where you don't care what they think of you, then you're displaying true black, devilish pride. Assuming we do it for the correct reason, namely that we care so much more about what God thinks, it is absolutely ethical and frequently our responsibility to not care what other people think of us. However, the arrogant man's lack of concern stems from a different source. He questions why he should give a hoot about the boos from the mob, as if their opinion matters. Would I be the type of guy to feel the need to pout at a praise, like a nervous girl at her first dance, even if their thoughts were valuable? As an adult, I am fully integrated. Every action I have taken has been driven by my personal principles, artistic sensibilities, familial traditions, or simply put, by the fact that I am that type of person. I don't care if the crowd approves or not. True, unwavering pride can serve as a check on hubris in this manner. After all, the devil enjoys making up for a minor transgression by delivering a major one. We should make an effort to avoid being vain, but we should never let our pride get the best of us. Avoid the flames by using the frying pan instead. Whether pride in this sense is a sin is debatable, but in English we say that a man is proud of his son, parent, school, or regiment. I suppose it's context dependent on what we mean when we say proud of. When used in this context, proud of usually denotes has a warm-hearted admiration for. This kind of awe is obviously not wrong, but it could indicate that the object of it is trying to put on an act because of his illustrious family, or because he is a member of a well-known regiment. Even if this were a defect, it would still be preferable than his own self-centered pride. As long as our love and admiration for anything other than God exceeds our love and admiration for God, we will continue to spiral downward into spiritual devastation. God does not condemn pride because he finds it offensive, and he does not demand humility because he is dignified. We must not assume that God is proud. His honor is completely unconcerned with. What he wants you to know is that he wants to be known by you. He wants to give you himself. And because you are so similar to him, if you really connect with him, you will be humble, delightedly humble, and feel the immense relief of finally letting go of all the foolishness about your own dignity that has kept you unhappy and restless your whole life. He wants you to be humble so that this moment can happen, and he's attempting to get you to take off all of that ridiculous, ugly, fancy garb that we've put on and are acting like complete fools. I wish I had taken humility a little farther. If I had, I would have told you more about the weight lifted off my shoulders, the solace found in shedding the mask of my fake self, complete with its "look at me" and "aren't I a good boy?" and all the posture and posing. Just being in its vicinity, even for a second, is like a refreshing drink of water to a guy who is thirsty in the desert. If you meet a truly modest man, don't assume he'll act in the way that most people define humility these days. He won't be the type of oily, smarmy guy who insists on reminding you that he's just a nobody. All you'll remember about him is that he appears like a nice, bright guy who genuinely cares about what you have to say. If you find fault with him, it will be out of mild envy for others who appear to have it so good. Humility will not cross his mind. In fact, he will be completely self-absorbed. I believe I can give them the first step toward becoming humble. Acknowledging one's pride is a significant step in the right direction. Nothing, if anything, can be done in the time leading up to it. You must be quite conceited if you believe you are not conceited. If this message awakened your spirit or offered a fresh perspective, we'd be grateful if you liked it. Your engagement helps us weave a tapestry of faith that touches many lives. For more uplifting insights and powerful messages, join our community by subscribing. Together, we'll dive into the depths of God's love and illuminate the world around us.